There is one winter gardening mistake I see people make over and over again. They see snow on the ground. They see the soil frozen solid. And right away, they think the answer is to build something bigger above ground. A plastic greenhouse, a PVC frame, a heater, a heat lamp, a long extension cord running across wet grass. I understand why they do it, because I did the same thing. You feel like you have to fight winter head on, but that is exactly where the problem starts. On the surface, winter almost always has the advantage. The wind hits from every side, the cold air surrounds your plants, and every little bit of warmth you add costs money. Some nights, you are not even sleeping well. You are checking the forecast, wondering if the power will go out, or if the wind will rip the plastic loose. But here is the part most people miss. Under your feet, the earth is holding warmth quietly. It is not dead. It is not useless. It is a natural heat battery, and if you use it the right way, you may be able to keep figs, lemons, or kumquats alive through winter without a heater. The secret is simple. Stop building up. Start digging down. The normal greenhouse idea sounds good at first. You put up some clear plastic, trap a little sunlight, and hope your plants stay warm. But in real winter, that setup can turn into a constant emergency. Thin plastic does not hold much heat. A PVC frame shakes in the wind. A cheap greenhouse from a big box store may look useful in October, but by January, it can feel like a tent sitting inside a freezer, so people add heaters. Then they add heat lamps. Then they run cords across the yard and start paying for every degree of warmth. That is not a calm system. That is just a fight you have to keep funding. And the moment the power goes out, the whole thing can fail. The real issue is not effort. Most gardeners are already working hard. The issue is location. Above ground, your plants are surrounded by the coldest, most unstable air of the season. You are trying to heat the weather instead of using what nature already gives you. A better system does not fight winter so directly. It works with the steady warmth stored in the ground. Here is the shift that changed everything for me. I stopped thinking about the air first and started paying attention to the ground. Most of us look at frozen soil in winter and assume the whole earth is cold, but that is not really true. The surface freezes. That top layer gets hard, icy, and lifeless looking, but deeper down the ground is much more stable. It does not swing wildly from warm to freezing the way the air does. It holds heat from the warmer months slowly and quietly. That is why I like to think of the earth as a giant heat battery. It charges all summer, then releases that warmth little by little through winter. When you build above ground, your plants are stuck in the most unstable place possible. Cold wind on every side, freezing air at night, sudden temperature drop. But when you dig down, you move your plants into a calmer space. The goal is not to create a tropical jungle. It is to give the plants a steady, protected place where the cold cannot hit them so hard. That steady ground temperature is the reason a sun trap pit works. You are not trying to beat winter with electricity. You are borrowing warmth the earth already saved for you. A sun trap pit sounds more complicated than it really is. Some people call it a pit greenhouse. Some call it a walipini. The name does not matter much. The idea is simple. You dig a hole deep enough to reach more stable ground temperature. Then you cover the top with glass or clear plastic at an angle so winter sunlight can pour in. During the day, the sun hits the dark soil, the walls, and the plants inside. That heat gets absorbed. Then at night, when the outside air drops, the earth slowly gives some of that warmth back. So instead of trying to heat open air, you are creating a small protected pocket in the ground. It is part greenhouse, part cold frame, and part root cellar. But the real magic is how quietly it works. No heater humming, no long cords across the yard, no big structure shaking in the wind. Just a dugout space, a clear lid, sunlight, and soil doing what soil has always done. It is not fancy. It is not flashy, but if you build it right, it can change the way you garden in winter. This is the part you really do not want to cheat on. If you only dig down a foot or two, it may look like a pit, but it will not work the same way. You are still too close to the frozen surface. That top layer of soil takes the full hit from winter. It freezes, thaws, freezes again, and swings all over the place. Plants do not like that kind of stress. The whole point of this system is to get below that chaos. Once you dig down around 3 to 4 feet, you start reaching a much calmer zone. The soil down there holds a steadier temperature. It does not care as much if the wind is howling above it, or if snow is piling up on the garden. That deeper earth is what gives your pit its real strength. It becomes the warm base your plants can lean on. So yes, digging that deep is hard. Your back will feel it. You may question the whole idea halfway through. But this is the one step that makes the system work. Too shallow, and you are just making a cold hole. Deep enough, and you are tapping into the earth's stored warmth. For your first pit, do not try to build something huge. That is how people get overwhelmed and quit before they ever plant anything. Start small. A 4 by 8 foot pit is a good size because a lot of old glass doors, storm windows, and polycarbonate sheets already fit close to that shape. Even a 4 by 4 foot test pit can teach you a lot. You are not trying to prove anything. You are trying to learn how your yard behaves in winter. How much sun does that spot get? Does the snow slide off the glass? Does the temperature hold overnight? Does water collect at the bottom? A smaller pit is easier to dig, easier to cover, and easier to fix if you make a mistake. And mistakes will happen. That is normal. The smart move is to build a test system first. 1 pit, 1 lid, 1 hardy plant. Watch it for a season. If it works, you can always make another one next year. When you dig the pit, do not haul all that soil away. That dirt is not waste. It is part of the system. Pile it on the north side of the hole and pack it down. This does a few useful things at once. First, it blocks some of the cold north wind, which is usually the wind that steals heat the fastest in winter. Second, it adds insulation where you need it most. A thick wall of soil holds steady warmth, much better than thin wood or plastic. Third, it gives you the height you need to angle your glass toward the winter sun. The back side of the pit should sit higher than the front, so the lid slopes down toward the south. That angle helps sunlight pour into the pit instead of bouncing away. So every shovel of dirt you pile up is doing a job. It is blocking wind, it is holding heat, and it is helping shape the whole trap. Simple, cheap, and surprisingly effective. Drainage is the boring part, but it is also the part that can save the whole project. A sun trap pit is still a hole in the ground. And if that hole does not drain, you have not built a greenhouse. You have built a bathtub. The first heavy rain can fill it up, and your plants will sit there with wet roots until they start to rot. So before you plant anything, test the bottom. Dig a small hole in the floor of the pit and fill it with water. Then watch what happens. If the water drains away fairly quickly, you are in good shape. If it sits there for hours, you need to fix that before you go any further. The simple answer is to dig a deeper sump hole in the lowest part of the pit and fill it with coarse gravel. That gives extra water somewhere to go while it slowly moves into the surrounding soil. It is not exciting work. Nobody brags about drainage, but if you skip it, The whole system can fail after one wet week. Warmth will not matter if the roots are drowning. Get the water problem right first, and everything else has a real chance. The lid is where people are tempted to spend too much money. They start looking at brand new greenhouse panels, fancy frames, and expensive glass. But that is not the point of this system. The reason a sun trap pit can be cheap is because most of the structure is already done by the hole itself. The earth is the wall. The earth is the insulation. The lid just needs to let sunlight in and block the wind. Old sliding glass doors are great for this. So are old shower doors, storm windows, or any strong, clear panel you can safely use. People throw this stuff away all the time. You can find it at reuse stores, yard sales, construction leftovers, or sometimes right on the curb. If you cannot find glass, twin-wall polycarbonate is a good backup, but do not feel like you have to buy the most expensive option. This is not supposed to become a luxury greenhouse. It is supposed to be simple, practical, and low cost. A clear lid, a tight fit, and the right angle matter more than how pretty it looks. You cannot just lay the glass flat and expect the best results. Winter sunlight is different. In the colder months, the sun stays low in the southern sky. It does not come straight down like it does in summer. So if your glass is lying flat, a lot of that weak winter light can bounce away instead of going down into the pit. You want the sunlight to enter, hit the soil, warm the walls, and reach the plants. That is why the lid needs to lean toward the south. Think of it like opening a hand toward the sun instead of turning away from it. The back of the lid should sit higher on the north side, and the front should slope down toward the south. That angle pulls more light into the pit when you need it most. It also helps with snow. If the glass is too flat, snow piles up and blocks the light. If the angle is steep enough, much of that snow can slide off on its own. You do not need perfect math here. You just need to respect the winter sun. Aim the glass so it catches light, not reflects it. Once the glass is in place, do not ignore the edges. This is one of those small details that makes a big difference. You can have a deep pit, good sunlight, and the right glass angle, but if cold wind is slipping under the lid, you will lose heat fast. Even a small gap can drain warmth out of the pit overnight. I do not worry about making it beautiful. I worry about making it tight. Use what you have. Heavy stones, sandbags, bricks, old boards, or bags of soil can all work. The goal is simple. Hold the lid down and block the drafts. Walk around the pit and feel for air leaks if you need to. If wind can get in, heat can get out. A sun trap pit works because it holds steady warmth, so do not let that warmth escape through lazy edges. Seal it well, and the whole system becomes much more dependable. Nighttime is when this system really gets tested. During the day, the sun helps you, but after sunset, that glass becomes the weakest part of the whole setup. Glass lets light in, but it does not hold heat very well. If you leave it uncovered on a freezing night, much of the warmth you collected during the day can disappear before morning. So, I treat the pit almost like something alive. When evening comes, I tuck it in. I lay old blankets over the glass. Sometimes I use rigid foam, bags of dry leaves, or whatever insulation I have around. Then I throw a tarp over the top to keep moisture off. It does not need to look perfect. It just needs to trap the heat rising from the soil. This little evening habit can be the difference between a plant that freezes and a plant that wakes up fine the next morning. It only takes a couple of minutes, but it matters. The earth slowly releases warmth all night. Your job is to keep that warmth from escaping too quickly. Cold is not the only problem. That surprises a lot of people. On a clear winter day, a covered pit can heat up fast, even when the air outside feels freezing. The sun comes through the glass, hits the soil, and suddenly that little space can get much warmer than you expect. If you leave it sealed tight all day, the inside can become too hot. That kind of swing is hard on plants. They do not need a sauna in the morning and a freezer at night. They need steady conditions. So on sunny days, crack the lid open just a little. 1 or 2 inches is often enough to let extra heat escape. You are not trying to make the pit hot. You are trying to keep it boring and stable. That is the real goal. Warm enough to avoid damage. Cool enough so the plants do not get stressed or wake up too early. Open it with your morning coffee. Close it before evening. Simple rhythm. Big difference. Once the pit is built, you have to be honest about what it can and cannot do. This is not a heated tropical greenhouse. It is not the place to grow bananas in the middle of a Michigan winter and expect miracles. If you want true tropical growth, you would need extra heat, and that defeats the whole point of a simple passive system. The better approach is to choose plants that already know how to slow down. Figs are one of the best choices. They naturally go dormant in winter. In a normal yard, a hard freeze can kill them back to the ground. Then they spend most of spring and summer just trying to rebuild what they lost. But inside a sun-trap pit, the roots stay protected, and the branches avoid the worst frost. They may look like bare sticks for a while, but they are alive, and when the season turns, they wake up faster. Meyer lemons and kumquats can also do well, especially because they can handle cooler conditions better than many tender tropical plants. They may not grow fast during the darkest weeks. That is fine. The goal is not speed. The goal is survival. The biggest care mistake is watering too much. Down in a covered pit, the soil does not dry out like it does in summer. There is less wind, less evaporation, less direct baking sun. So do not water on a calendar. Check with your hand. Push a finger a few inches into the soil. If it still feels cool and slightly moist, leave it alone. In winter, doing less is often the right move. Watch more. Water less. Let the plants rest. The best part of a sun-trapped pit is not just getting a few figs or a Meyer lemon in the middle of winter. It is the feeling you get when you open that lid on a cold morning and warm, damp air comes up from the ground. Outside, everything looks frozen and quiet. The garden looks dead. But down inside that little pit, something is still alive. Green leaves, swelling buds, a piece of summer being held safely under the snow. That changes the way you see winter. You realize you do not always need more electricity, more equipment, or a bigger structure. Sometimes the answer is already under your feet. The earth has been storing heat quietly the whole time. You just needed to work with it instead of fighting against it. And you do not have to start big. Try one small pit, one old piece of glass, one hardy plant. Watch it, learn from it, then build from there. If this video helped you see your winter garden in a new way, please subscribe to Quiet Growth Lab, hit the like button, and leave a comment below. Thank you for watching until the end. I truly appreciate your time. I will see you in the next video, where we keep digging up simple, practical ideas the modern world almost forgot.